Right on cue, ladies and gentlemen, Ubisoft and the Assassin's Creed development team had to go and find themselves a woke journalist to do a little bit of damage control and write a hit piece. And of course, what do? They blame all of the backlash on gamers. Yeah, if you haven't been watching the channel or anybody else's channel covering Assassin's Creed Shadows, this game has been dead on arrival. Not just because of the problems with Ubisoft and their practices of consumers and gamers need to be comfortable not owning their games, not because of their ridiculous pricing structures, but because of all of the DEI that's infecting this company that we've been addressing for months now. We've seen community managers, we've seen concept artists, we've seen every kind of employee that you could think of, even subreddit mods, trying to run damage control for Yasuke, which is the main problem of this game. It's not because we're racist or we're bigots, which is what articles like this try to tell you. It's because they're embellishing on Yasuke as an actual historical figure. If you're not aware, they've been under the radar for putting Yasuke as a person of color in an Assassin's Creed game that takes place in Japan. Japanese gamers wrote a petition where hundreds of thousands of signatures were on it, saying that they felt that Japan was being disrespected as a country and a culture, and even got in front of some politicians in Japan. On top of that, there's been other issues with Chinese architecture in the game, inaccurate plants and fauna in the background during certain seasons, a Japanese reenactment group's flag was in the game without permission, and then they just had failure after failure on here. And on top of that, you had this whole cloud of Thomas Lockley, who wrote this fictional book on Yasuke that's actually being used as a site source for the history of Yasuke, which there's no evidence that he was a samurai. So, long-winded enough, the New York Times had this individual write this whole article about how they're under attack by people online. And of course, it's always blamed on gamers and right-wing grifters. And it's honestly one of the worst articles I've seen out here. Zachary Small is totally damage controlling for this. And, you know, it's ridiculous how wokies have to try to protect this narrative, how they have to try to place blame on everything. It's almost like they're preparing for the worst. So you can see in their article, they're talking about how the whole thing was revealed and gamers erupted over this appearance of Yasuke, this black samurai here, right? Known for its immersive recreations of the past, had gone woke by including a black character in its depiction of 16th century Japan. So he's saying that as soon as Yasuke appeared in the trailer, a whole bunch of people online just got nuts because they're racist. He even tries to blame Elon Musk here for saying DEI kills art, but it does. DEI kills art. And he says game developers receive personal attacks and death threats during an online harassment campaign. The backlash over Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is scheduled to be released on November 15th, compelled the French company Ubisoft to remind players that its games are ultimately works of fiction. So that's in regards to the statement that they made saying that they apologize to the Japanese people for all of this. So this whole entire article is basically blaming everybody for being racist bigots, and it's pathetic. It is pathetic, and it's basically trying to say that they are, 110% responsible for the backlash. That's incorrect, that Yasuke was a samurai. They even go on to talk about the historian in here that was actually proven wrong. If you go into this whole thing, this was Hirayama, who wrote a thing saying that he was possibly a samurai. I'm looking at the Park Place right here that had an article. If you guys remember this guy was all saying that basically a whole bunch of nothing, saying that because he was given a house, he was given a sword, that he was actually, receiving a stipend, that he was more than likely a samurai or a retainer or something like that. So this guy was proven wrong by a lot of people. If you guys remember, there was actually a variety of YouTube videos made by this individual that's right here. His title of thing. This was made by a YouTuber of the name Shohei Kondo, and it was called The Truth of Yasuke and IED marketing where they're trying to promote it as an accurate history of Japan when it's not. And they're still doing it. They're still over here saying that they uh, tripled the budget to research Japan properly, that they incorporated Japanese studios into the development team, and that they had extreme details and that they really cared about it. But honestly, trying to come on here and get everybody to blame except yourselves for having this game that literally people are upset about it. They're saying that right here, the outcry, despite them saying that they took care into this game, grew louder. The inclusion of Yasuke was the primary complaint, but observers also pointed to the presence of Chinese architecture and period inappropriate flags. So, yeah. And it talks about how it became so heated that a small right wing political party in Japan asked the government to comment on what it considered historical inaccuracies. You got to love how they point out right wing party in Japan. Like right wingers in Japan are the same type as right wings in America. And that's not entirely true. All right. They talk about the whole thing right here. I mean, honestly, all of this is just ridiculous. A ridiculous article, and I don't know why they feel the need to do this. We've seen Alyssa Mercante, back up Sweet Baby Inc. for their bullshit as well. We've seen IGN write the hit pieces on Black Myth Wukong, and this talks about the art director saying that they really care about the game and they tried to make it photorealistic and that they did their research. When we've been talking about Assassin's Creed for so long, when we've been talking about everything wrong with the game coming up and how it's completely inaccurate. And if you want to take a look at a really good article that calls out this article, if you go to the Park Place, it literally says that they run to New York Times to attack players in defense. And yeah, they compared it to the people, the Rings of Power executives, that they ran to Vanity Fair to write a hit piece, even though that was an abomination itself. Without journalists, none of this woke things that cater towards modern audience would have any kind of traction, because this modern audience doesn't exist, guys. This modern audience is bullshit. They don't come monetarily for anything. That's why things get canceled. That's why they fail. That's why things just overall don't make their money back, like Concord and Dustborn. And a lot of people have already had enough of this game. It's not because they're racist or bigots, guys. It's because if it's going to be a historical fiction, why don't you just make a brand new character instead of trying to use Yasuke, who's already been a tool for wokeness and diversity. Literally, Thomas Lockley's been benefiting off of a fact, that he's not a samurai, but he tries to put it like it's truth, right? Doesn't make sense. He claims that he wasn't in touch with Ubisoft, but he literally was on a podcast and used as a historical reference. And I've seen it. I've seen the Japanese people come to my channel. I've seen them comment that they felt disrespected, that they're not happy with this game. I have no idea why Ubisoft is deciding to go this far to where it seems like they are wanting to ruin their company. If you look at the stocks, it's at an all-time low in decades. Star Wars Outlaws performed lower than expected. If this fails, you got minor investors saying sell the company or go private. If this fails, I don't think Ubisoft can recover. And there's already a lot of backlash on this, as you've seen throughout the last several months or so in the videos that I've made. It's not some kind of right-wing grift. It's a lot of gamers that definitely feel like this game is going to be terrible, because instead of focusing on actually making an entertaining game, which, don't get me wrong, there's probably some decent game mechanics in this game if it plays even half as good as Valhalla did, they're more focused on woke narratives. They're more focused on, hey, look, we got a black samurai. We got Yasuke here. We're promoting him as this legendary figure. He's going to go chop the heads off of Japanese people to rap music. And it's like, all right, we get it. You guys want to do everything but make great video games. And that's just unfortunate, because that's what a lot of these studios are doing now. But put your money where your mouth is and, vote with your wallet, guys. So I'm going to leave it there. What do you guys think? I don't think it's a good look to use New York Times and different articles to literally attack gamers, literally say that there are a whole bunch of right wing grifters and gamers that are mad because they're racist and stuff. So I'm sure there'll be plenty more articles like this written the closer that we get to November. But let me know your thoughts, guys. Subscribe if you're brand new. I'll see you on the next one.